Welcome back, everybody. How's everybody doing? Welcome back. Happy November. So there's kind of three things I'm going to do today. The first, just talk about a few upcoming episodes. Second, current projects, and then the third, just questions Q&A. Depending on questions, it'll be either fast or really slow. It all depends. But let's see who's here today. So far, no comments. So, all right. So let's just talk a little bit about some upcoming episodes. So I spent a lot of time in the last few weeks kind of pre-baking the content that I had to make sure that I had enough time to go off and record some other interesting content. So over the past 2 weeks, I went to Utah and then I went back home to Delaware and got footage on two separate topics. The first was, two friends and I, and also two writers. One of whom is DJ Butler, who you've seen on this podcast many times. We went to a location that was adjacent to Skinwalker Ranch and was literally owned a portion of Skinwalker Mesa, or whatever the mesa is called, the ridge that's right, at the edge of the property. So we were bright enough to actually sleep there. And we didn't bring tents. We just brought sleeping bags. We just made a fire. They're allowed to make fires in Utah. Apparently, they're not allowed to make fires where I am in California. So that was a novelty for me. Back in the day, we used to actually do those things, but not anymore. So, we made a fire. We explored a little bit. Walked at least on this side of the property and heard a variety of different stories about what people had experienced there, and may have had a few experiences ourselves. But you're going to have to wait until I put that video together to see it. The second thing that I did is I went back home to Delaware, where I grew up, in case you didn't know that, which is we're in Delaware. So anyway, I went back home to Delaware for some family stuff. But at the same time, I went to a curiosity shop that is adjacent to my favorite bookstore in the world, which is Between Books 2.0 with Greg Shower. You should definitely check that out if you're ever in Delaware. But at the front of his bookshop, or where he sells his books, is a curiosity shop. And in that curiosity shop is a Japanese mourning doll. Now, a Japanese mourning doll is one of those dolls that is constructed by taking the hair and two of the teeth of the decedent and making it into a doll. The doll was created in 1911 and was supposed to return Japan, but never did. And there's a number of weird circumstances associated with the doll. So I decided to put a camera in the curiosity shop overnight and see what happened. So that's the second video that's out there. Now, I have several other interviews scheduled with some very interesting people. Now, I don't want to say who those people are yet, because sometimes people reschedule, sometimes people get sick, sometimes someone in the family dies, etc. So I am crossing my fingers and hoping I get it right. There are two particularly very interesting interviews that, one with a remote viewer that you would have heard of, and another with a PhD scientist that you will also have heard of, who was associated with Skinwalker Ranch. So until I actually have footage recorded, I'm not going to announce any names until the interviews are completed and recorded, and I'm ready to start processing the interview. So that's where I am on upcoming episodes. There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. Now, I also want to warn you, next week I have a book coming out, so do not be disappointed. I have a number of kind of book-related episodes that are coming up. So just they're actually pretty enjoyable. But if you're looking only for paranormal or geopolitical content, you're going to get an ish, right? You're going to get some cryptid work that will be interesting, but it's not some of the normal fare. Because again, I have a book coming out that's related to a cryptid somewhere in California, and it is a fiction book. I just want to be 100% clear, and I can't announce it yet because it's associated with a program called Cryptid Crate, and Cryptid Crate is a surprise every month. It's a subscription. I will talk about it in a future episode. I'm not going to waste your time here, but each month there is, or either each month or each quarter, it all depends on how it's evolving. There is a new box with a little figurine of the cryptid, a story of the cryptid, and then other stickers and other various tchotchkes that you get with the Cryptid Crate subscription program. Because of that, it's supposed to be a surprise, so I cannot say what the cryptid is, and I can't pre-promote the book by name. But if you've been following this show for a while, you'll be able to figure it out. If you go into the description of any episode that I have, you can kind of figure it out. So anyway, those are the upcoming episodes. There's a few others that I would like to book. I just have to reach out to them. So I'm not gonna, because I reach out to plenty of people all the time and I don't always get responses. It's getting easier because more subscribers are watching the show, and you guys are giving me really great feedback. And for that, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all the comments and the interaction that I get. And hopefully we can use this session here to answer any questions that you might have. Okay. Current projects. So this hasn't really changed too much. So I just finished editing another story for Weird China. I'm about 83% complete, pending the author's comments on my edits. And I have enough stories to get to about 93%. And I may or may not write a story for this one, but if I do, I have to write it pretty quickly. The other project that I'm working on, I haven't really made any progress on it. That's my science fiction thriller, Wormwood Down. Was traveling, so I just need to. My intent is to finish that this year, and do some revisions, get up to my editor at some point, and then obviously this podcast is taking the majority of my time these days. So that's current projects. Let's go straight to questions because that's all I got today, guys. And it looks like I have a comment already. Interesting. It's Leon or Lion? If it's Leon, just say yes or no. Well, maybe you bounced. So whether our world is a prison. Okay, so in terms of holographic simulation, again, these are just what I've read, what I've seen over and over again. Yeah, Leon, thank you. So this is just what I've seen over and over again. It doesn't mean I believe it, because I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. But Dolores Cannon is somebody that you should look into. And I think she was a hypnotherapist, and she helped people remember their experiences of alien abduction, contact, etc. And she was able to elicit some of that data by just asking the entities that had worked with the abductees and things like that during their experiences. So in terms of the common theme that kept coming up over and over again is that the Earth is a school. So we're here, we incarnate. And again, I don't know if I believe this. I have, there's no way for me to verify this. This just comes up over and over and over again. So it's either a very intricate and well thought out deception, and people are just repeating each other, or it is akin to what reality is. But according to Dolores Cannon, we are in a school. We incarnate to learn lessons, and we may or may not have multiple incarnations. Now, on a previous episode, I interviewed Lynn Buchanan, as you all know, and he remote viewed 64 people. One at the instant before they died, and then then again at the instant after they died. And again, he's only seen a sample size of 64, but he saw 4 sorts of possibilities. So what people would describe as heaven, what people would describe as hell, what people would describe as reincarnation, and then the most terrifying one that he saw was people just winking out of existence, whatever that means. For maybe he didn't have a big enough a sample size. So in terms of whether our world is a prison, I think that's I think part of it is what you decide to make of it yourself. It is certainly a challenging existence, and according to Dolores Cannon, it is one of the most challenging existences because, again, we're here to learn. And then, so I'm just reading Oracle's commentary. Look, it's possible. It's possible that we're all fragments of source, and we live in a collective delusion that manifests this world in front, around us. And I think that's also, I wouldn't call it delusion. I don't think she would use the term delusion, but Dolores Cannon would say that we kind of manifest, the universe around us. So the common philosophical question of if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, does it make a sound? And normal Newtonian physics would say, of course it makes a sound. It doesn't matter if the perceiver is there or not. But interesting. Sorry, I'm trying to focus and I'm getting questions. So thank you for the questions, everybody. I'm going to try to get to all of them. So I think the bottom line is we don't know what we don't know. But I think if you feel like it's a prison, part of it is what you're manifesting. So I think the example that Dolores Cannon gave is that if you're in a room with a group of people and you're in a building for an event, that building is only there while you're all there jointly manifesting it and having that experience. Once you leave, it's not really there. So again, Newtonian physics would not say that at all, but that's kind of what some of the entities have said to Dolores Cannon. In terms of a holographic, like a hologram, so a good book to read on this is Stalking the Wild Pendulum. And I think the version of reality, I think this is where Dr. Morehouse comes up with this, or may get the 8-dimensional holographic field. Everything is expressed as a waveform in space and time at higher at higher dimensions, and a 3-dimensional universe is just a manifestation of that. Just kind of, that is a higher reality, and we are what is projected from a higher reality or higher resonance, or higher frequency reality. So could you call that a simulation? Maybe, but it's still real, if that makes sense, right? So we are part of a holographic matrix field. Again, this is a theory. I don't know, right? This is just a theory. And we are just lower frequency projections of that holographic matrix field in even fewer dimensions. Okay, so let's see what other questions we have. Okay, so Leon, yeah, it's definitely a tough school, and I think part of the school though is you're the one who you can't really necessarily control everything that happens to you, but you can control 100% how you react to it. And yeah, I agree. It's been extremely tough. It's just your outlook is all you can do, and just keep working toward manifesting the reality you want, and keep working toward being positive and treating others positively. So actually, here's a little it wasn't really an experiment, but it's a good example of if you put good vibes out into the universe, good vibes come back. So during my trip, We went to kind of the outskirts of Skinwalker Ranch, had a fire, and we had like bratwurst and Pop-Tarts. And suffice to say, I ate some Pop-Tarts, but I didn't eat all the Pop-Tarts. So I brought the Pop-Tarts back with me to the airport in a rental car. And I went up to it's probably a $5 box of Pop-Tarts. And I just told when I turned the car in, I'm like, hey, Dad, you guys, do your employees want these? I'm going to throw them out anyway. I'm not going to take them on the flight. I don't have any room. Can I, just, and the guy looked at him and he's like, what kind are they? I'm like, they're chocolate. He's just, oh, the guys will eat the hell out of these. So when I finally landed, budget, and I'll give a shout out to the company. Those guys gave me a $78 gift card to Amazon because I returned a clean car. Always return a clean car when you rent a car, but just putting good out in the universe and just doing good, sometimes it comes back. In that case, it came back 15-fold, right? And I wasn't expecting anything; it just happened. So again, just put good vibes out in the universe. It's not always easy, but just do your best. Okay, let's see. Oh, and by the way, Stalking the Wild Pendulum is not my book. It's Iksav Bentov, who's far smarter than me. He's like a physicist and inventor. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. And then Kev, books. Which books he should read to optimize his future? Okay. Read a book called Endurance. It's about the Ernest Shackleton expedition and how, if you're trying to look at being a good leader, how you can take an exceedingly depressing situation where people are having to eat their own boots to survive in the Antarctic. It shows how Ernest Shackleton kept his team motivated and how he got every single one of them through a horrific winter. That's one. Stalking the Wild Pendulum would be another. Anything by Robert Monroe. He has about 3 different books: Journeys Out of the Body, and 2 others: Ultimate Journey, and then there's a third that I can't recall off the top of my head. Dr. Morehouse's book, Psychic Warrior, I highly recommend. That's how I got started on all this stuff, because having been a former Army officer, I knew when I read his story that he was for real, and then I was able to get into everything else after that. So, and to kind of trust that. There's tons of other books, but it just depends on what folks are looking for and what they're hoping to learn. But in terms of the categories that we talk about here, those are the ones that I would certainly start with. Let's see. Okay. Oh God, no. No, I do not know. Bitcoin, no. And here's why. Just read about the South Sea bubble, read about tulip mania. The issue with Bitcoin is that there is no centralized authority to guarantee payment of Bitcoin, etc. It's so decentralized that at the end of the day, there's nobody to enforce somebody who rips you off. Or I know they say the technology helps and does that, but investing in kind of in cryptocurrency today is akin to right around when we had the Articles of Confederation in this country before Alexander Hamilton came out and established a central bank. There were so many different currencies. There's different currency for each state. And it is very difficult to manage, to audit. And well, I think you can audit Bitcoin probably better than you can audit cash. But at the end of the day, you want to have a central guarantor of that capital, such that people just can't rip you off. Like look at FTX. Like how does that even happen? Right? The guy's feeded by every politician in the world, and he's getting all these stories and what a genius he is, and he's shifting money from people's personal accounts to cover losses and things like that. It's the same old scam all over again. Maybe in the future, like once central banks start taking an interest in Bitcoin and start to eliminate all these various competitors and kind of picks a winner. I wouldn't and have not touched it thus far. So again, that's just my personal view. It doesn't mean I'm right. I haven't spent a ton of time researching it. The vibes I get from it are kind of like the South Sea bubble and the tulip mania. So, okay, let's see. Okay, so long-term a lot of long-term astral travelers say that reincarnation, this is Oracle's question, is a trap that some entities use to harvest spirit energy somehow. They say there's a big picture that we get, a bigger picture that we get than we get from most near-death accounts. Look, it's totally possible. Like, I don't, again, belief is, it requires faith, and I don't really know. I don't, and I certainly don't know. Like, I haven't experienced any of this stuff. But if you read Robert Monroe, part of the reincarnation, the way he describes reincarnation, is sort of like a trap. As you go through existence over and over again, you get increasingly tethered to this reality, and you don't want to leave. And it becomes harder and harder to generate enough energy to leave. It's almost like you become, lower frequency, denser, and kind of could potentially get trapped here. The Dolores canon view is, it's just kind of a school, and the more you reincarnate just means that you're not learning as fast as you should be. So, again, both theories, and maybe they mean the same thing. Okay, so FTX, so many got devastated, and even before that, Freddie got really hurt when he lost so much. Yeah, it's when you have asymmetry of information in any of these sorts of environments, it is an opportunity for sociopaths or psychopaths to take advantage of you. So, like I said, I don't have any assets in cryptocurrency unless somebody has, rewarded me something. I think there's like 2 accounts that I have, cryptocurrency sitting somewhere doing nothing. Yeah. So when Yellowstone blows up, are you within range? I think I think everybody in North America is likely within range, particularly in the Mountain West. I'd have to check, but I'm in California, so there's already issues with earthquakes and things like that. But where do you move to the Midwest? They have tornadoes. Can't really go to Florida. They got hurricanes. I guess the best places are probably in the Mountain West somewhere. But even then, even if you knew something was going to happen, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, you can prepare for it in some way, but you can't really stock up on food. You stock up on food unless you can defend it, right? And what are you going to defend it with, right? Your family with a rifle, right? If enough people want to take it, they're going to take it. So, yeah, my best guess is, or my long-term plan is to kind of migrate to the mountains somewhere and settle down once I'm out of kind of prime working age, or if by some fluke this gig really takes off and I can do it from anywhere. So we will see. And the wifey has wanted to move out of California since forever. She's not a fan. Curious disjuncture between OBE and NDE. I haven't heard that. It seems to me that they're actually very similar experiences. Yeah, so the first Robert Monroe book you want to read is Journeys Out of the Body. That's the first one. And then there's 2 more that follow it that you want to check out. And I think Ultimate Journeys is one of them, and there's another one. But there's 3 in a row that are pretty good. Yeah, a future like the road would be incredibly disturbing. The Lynn Buchanan thing, that feels more to me like when you talk about man-made natural disasters, the most efficient way to have that much of a loss in population is either some sort of an EMP, right? That would eliminate about 90% of the US population in North America in about a month, because I think you have 2 to 3 days of food in the major cities. And then also, you wouldn't be able to move things around with EMP, because anything with diesel trucks and things like that also would be impacted by EMP. So that said, I haven't checked recently, but about 2 weeks ago, we had about 25 days left of diesel fuel in the United States. Now you can produce more diesel fuel, but it is dangerously low. And also the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is, in a multi-decade low as well, because, the president kept drawing it down ahead of the midterm elections. So, hopefully keep prices low. Now, if he continues to do that, we're, in a real emergency, we could be in some serious trouble. Let's see. All right. I don't know if I answered all the questions. If I didn't, if you could just, yeah. So, I didn't finish my thought. So EMP could be one. I doubt. That just doesn't seem realistic to me, unless it's a natural. I mean, that would be a man-made disaster. So yeah, I don't. I got to be careful of the G word, Kev. I don't want to get banned from YouTube. The bottom line is, you can stack up on all the food you want, but if you can't protect it, it really doesn't matter how much food you have, because somebody will just take it from you. So I'll leave it at that. And then, let's see. The other way that you can, have a massive population decline would be, some other, global pandemic of some sort. And after the performance of governments around the world from the last one, I think there's a huge loss of trust. So I think I think something that's a little bit more dangerous than coronavirus, like hantavirus, or actually hantavirus doesn't really spread, but like something like the Marburg virus, which has an extremely high kill rate or mortality rate, is, given that a lot of people don't trust the government as much as they used to, something like that could be, a lot more devastating, because people just won't believe it and, die in droves. In fact, a few months ago, there was a limited outbreak somewhere of Marburg virus, but the media really didn't cover it that quickly, and I haven't checked since then. But it would have had to have been suppressed, otherwise, there would have been massive loss of life. But I think when you talk about man-made catastrophes, viruses are certainly that way. Perhaps the coronavirus mutates into something more harmful. That doesn't tend to happen, right? They tend to happen something that's a little bit like spreads a little easier, but it's possible. It could also be possible that the long-term health effects of the vaccines, which never had long-term clinical trials because there was no time for it. Maybe people start to experience long-term health effects from those. Again, I'm not saying that's happening. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just thinking like a science fiction writer, and different possibilities. Okay, so all right. So Leon says, I will share something with you. I had very incredible lucid dreams, many lights in the skies over the earth, and many people were in awe. Then I had nightmares about UFOs blasting cities. I don't know. It's an interesting dream, whether or not that's a possibility. The question is why haven't they done it yet? Right. Yeah, Marburg. Yeah, so Leon again, Marburg, super bad. And then what is the NWO? sorry to be ignorant. I have never had missing time, as far as I know, but that doesn't mean it never happened. Um, let's see. Yeah, Oracle. I've tried to meditate. My mind is so active that it's very difficult for me to get into that sort of mindset. New World Order. Yeah, I I don't think I don't think global elites are that intelligent, Leon. I really think they're just like what we see is pure incompetence. I just there's a lot of smart people out there, but they don't, you know, in order to keep a conspiracy, this deep, it's very, very difficult. And even it gets out. Like there's other things um that have been done, but again, I don't want to say anything on YouTube because I'll get thrown off. No, I have not tried high vibration crystals. Um, and then what's the best, Leon? What's the best method to meditate? Because I'm not very good at it. Me, I just turn on. I mean, this is terrible. This is terrible. This is like the worst way to do it. I just go to YouTube and look for like a meditation channel, and then just listen to the voice as they tell me, to how to breathe and all that stuff. But it just never. Okay, okay, okay. So Leon, so go for a jog, do some hard yard work, ground yourself by walking barefoot in the grass after the work or workout. Take a shower and then silently sit on a cushion for 30 minutes. Yeah, it reminds me of the military, right? You're so tired by the end of the day that I don't even. I think like as soon as you lay down, you're out, you're gone, like you're not even at least consciously meditating. But that sounds like um, strenuous exercise, and then kind of clean up afterwards, and then relax. So I'll have to try that. Yeah, that's the problem, Leon. Try to think of nothing. That's what gets me every time, because it's just like my consciousness is bombarded with ideas. Like I can't stop thinking. So I will try to think of nothing, but thinking of nothing causes me to think of what nothing means, and what is nothingness, and how you see it just it keeps going. I, so again, Leon, I feel you're an awakened soul here to help others by making these awesome video interviews. I'm trying, but I feel like if spiritual awakening were like learning a musical instrument, I would be tone deaf. I feel like, I mean, I'll give you an example, and I'll talk about this when I do the Skinwalker Ranch episode. So when we went to Skinwalker Ranch, we went up on the mesa at night. It was a full moon, and there were three of us, and I just kind of marched up up on top of the mesa like it was with no fear. Like there was like none of us seemed to feel any fear, which is kind of a little odd. And then when we came back and kind of had a fire and ate and stuff like that, we were oddly like very happy, like almost euphoric. I mean, it was a little odd, right? Because it was, we're sitting on Skinwalker Ranch, and we had a pretty euphoric experience. And then when we went to sleep, the environment seemed to change a little bit. Like the wind got extremely violent, and to the point where I was sleeping perpendicular to the fire, and perpendicular to a chair that was facing me. And I had like a well, I'll save this one. I had like a thought, and instantly when I had that thought, and it was in my own voice, but whether or not it came from me, I don't know. But it said something was real, and I'll save that because I don't want to say it on this call because I'll sound a little weird. But as soon as I heard that um, concept, the wind immediately, there was an immediate violent gust of wind, and I believe it blew the chair into the fire. Now I don't know if that was the incident where it blew the chair in the fire. I just know when we woke up that the chair, someone else who was with us, another Dave, had pulled the chair out of the fire, but that gust would have been strong enough to throw it into the fire. So it was it was a little bit. That was probably the oddest experience. There was another experience that could be explained by kind of three different causes. One is simply pareidolia, which is just seeing things. But when you see the images that I recorded with my camera, you'll be able to judge for yourself, because there's a certain setting on GoPro that you use called night lapse. And as you move, lights will there's like a weird effect, interesting effect that lights have when you move with that, using that setting. But what it is, I put a GoPro on my chest, and I, kind of as we were walking along this mesa, and the images that I got look like a bunch of pictographs. Like one of them looks like buffalo, one of them looks like cattle. It's really strange. So like the most likely explanation is it's just pareidolia, right? It's just a human attempt to put meaning into everything, right? When it's just random movements. But there's also, another possibility that something manipulated the camera to produce that effect. Unlikely, but you'll have to judge for yourself when you see the images. To you, it might just look like some random etch-a-sketch that I'm reading too much into. The third possibility is something moved me that way to get that effect. So I didn't feel that way. I felt pretty confident and unafraid. But when I finally process all those videos and kind of put cut those episodes together, you can decide for yourself. Okay, so I do miss the Army some days. Well, let me reframe it. I miss the people in the Army, but I don't miss the Army, if that makes sense, Kev. So you'll notice that when I think I interviewed one of my old sergeants, Dave Brown. You'll notice that we still have a kinship after 20 some odd years, right? We still get each other, we still understand each other, and we still have each other's back always. Let's see. All right, I want to go back to Leon. So Leon, why do you feel I'm an awakened soul? I feel like I'm like a lemming, and people shouldn't follow me because I'll probably inadvertently walk off the edge of something. I'm just trying to ask questions because I don't know the answer, and I think the reality that we see is much more complex than it seems, right? Hundreds of years ago, we didn't know what radiation was. Hundreds of years ago, we didn't know what electricity was. Hundreds of years ago, there's a lot of things that we don't see that exists, and we just don't know what it is. So I'm just trying to figure these things out and trying to learn as best as I can. Because these are great questions. I don't know if I'm giving you the answers. I'm just kind of regurgitating some of the things that I've read or tried to understand. But I don't, none of these are the answers, because there are some people like David Morehouse will tell you that he doesn't believe he knows, and he does, because he's done remote viewing for the government, and he's been able to demonstrate that capability is real. I have not yet. I hope to learn it, soon, and we'll try to decide for myself. But at this point, based on the data, it appears by every indication that it works. But I haven't proven it to myself. I don't know. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So, and here's the thing about mocking folks who talk about this. There's there's a certain way that you can mitigate part of like the derision that people might have by the way that you approach this topic. And the first step is just admitting your own ignorance. So by exploring these things, I'm not saying that they are certainly true. I am saying that I accept the possibility that they may be true. And then I let the data and kind of the experiences that people have dictate whether or not that's the case. Now, will I get it wrong sometimes? Absolutely. But I try not to take a strident view that, like, oh, you're an idiot if you think remote viewing's not true. Like, I can understand why people would think, man, that's a little weird. It's kind of, and the thing that got me over the hump is, if it's weird and it's woo woo, why did the government do it for 20 years? Why are they still likely doing it today? So, through other channels indirectly, the government still uses remote view. In fact, as an example, if you look at some of the DIRDs, DIRD, I don't know what that stands for, but if you read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon by uh, I think Colm Kelleher and James Lukatsky and George Knapp, they NIDS, I think it's the National Institute of Discovery Science, which is owned by Robert Bigelow. They provided some data to study the ranch, and one of the things that they used was 8 pages of remote viewing that was done by Joe McMoneagle, and that was submitted as part of the OSAP study that they did in Skinwalker Ranch for the Defense Intelligence Agency. So the government obviously believes it has some utility. Now, like any intelligence tool, just because somebody finds something in a remote viewing experience, unless it can be physically verified, you should not always trust it. You can accept it as a possibility, but the only other way to increase the probability of that something seen in remote viewing is true is to have a lot of remote viewers do it in a double-blind study, and if they all come back with the same answer, chances are it's very likely to be real. And again, you'd want to do it in a statistically sound experiment, 30 or more observations, et cetera, et cetera. So, and by the way, like Princeton University had the PAIR, I think it's like paranormal something or other laboratory, paranormal experimental anomalies laboratory or something like that. I probably got it wrong, but they had that open for 20, 30 years, and they only recently shut it down in 2007. So there's certainly something to all this. And anybody who comes in and is skeptical of everything is probably not right. There's kind of two sides of groups that you should never believe. The first are the true believers. They believe everything you tell them, and then they'll kind of immediately accept it and move on. And then there's also the hardcore skeptics who are constantly trying to disprove everything that is inexplicable today. Those are the two groups that you want to try to assiduously avoid. And and then based on your own experience, who knows? Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to post this up, Leon, because I'm still learning how to use StreamYard, and I just rediscovered that I can do that. So I'm going to do this a little bit more. But yeah, thank you, Leon. I appreciate it. Let's see. Okay, so this is the prison planet thing again. You know what? And I told them. This one we should take a. I mean, if I had a poll, I would take a poll because there's a clear answer to this one. Anybody want to hazard a guess in the comments? Like, there's a black and white answer to this one. Oh yeah, Leon. Yeah, Leon. I didn't understand. I tried to read your comment, but I didn't understand it, so I didn't comment that. Um, yeah, Leon got it right away. Yeah, I'm definitely a night owl. I try to force myself to have a regular schedule. Just and I tend to schedule meetings in the morning. So and then that forces me to not be a night owl. Yeah, thank you, Oracle, and thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. And I hope I love having these discussions. Like I said, I'm still I'm still learning. Um, I may have tangentially had like sort of paranormal experiences, but never anything that's like 100% this happened. It's always something that's interpretive, which is not not the best evidence that you would need. Okay, what other questions do folks have? What else do people want to discuss? Actually, here's a question for everybody. If I could get any guest on this show, uh, for a guest that would appear on a show with, slightly less than 1,000 subscribers, who would you like to see? Right? Because Stephen King ain't going to come on the show, right? It's just doesn't have enough reach. Anyone, who would you recommend? Now, you guys have gone dark real fast. How about favorite episodes? Or who's your favorite guest so far? No. No. If I were a member of a very rich family, I wouldn't be hustling here. Or maybe I would. I don't know. Yeah. So in terms of Richard Dolan, interesting you mentioned that. So he has some sort of private group or network, and they were from that network. They were clicking on the Lynn. I think it was the Lynn Buchanan episode on this show. So again, it was some network that you have to pay to be a member of, but there was like a backlink to it where it was getting shared on that platform. But someday I'll try. Um, Lynn Buchanan again? Yeah, Richard Dolan is really good. Yeah, I've seen him. Will he be up for it? I feel like he's like straight out of the '80s, like that whole show, like the song and all that stuff. It's like straight like the like straight out of the Montauk Project, like the do 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 whatever the song is. Um, I got it. I got it. Yeah, because I asked like two questions, and then you answered the first one, and that was the second one. Yeah, Lynn's amazing. I have to bring him on because he raised more questions than he answered in some cases. So as an example, I don't know if maybe this wasn't on the show, but the 23andMe mystery with the other category for DNA. 23andMe doesn't know what's in that other category. They have no idea. And there's someone in the government who's trying to track it. So that was an interesting mystery that I learned about, but I don't know if we talked about that on the interview. And then who's Michael Tellinger? I guess I could look him up, but what area does he focus on? Does he focus on UAPs, remote viewing, or something else? Absolutely. Absolutely. And then what I can do is I can check it out after, after the live stream and learn more about it. Ah, yeah, there's some YouTube channel called Remote Viewed where they, I think the Farsight Institute looked at something that was related to who built the pyramids. And look, there's no way for anybody to verify what they came up with, but it is fascinating regardless. Like, if even if it's not true, which is, there's a probability it's not, but it is a fascinating remote viewing session about about these, slaves that are expendable, that only have a spark of the soul, and the conditions are so bad, and the person that's running them doesn't want them to die, but if they die, they can just cook up another batch and send them in. So anyway, it's fascinating. Again, I don't know if it's real, but it's definitely fascinating. uh, all right, let's see. Okay, I don't know if, yeah, maybe it doesn't work. um yeah, so Michael Tellinger sounds like it could be an interesting thing to pursue. I'm just putting this up here so everybody can read. Yeah, I think that's like, I don't want to say likely, but I I wouldn't be surprised if our DNA was tinkered with over, thousands of years. Uh, uh I mean, without the anal probe, maybe, but like he, I shouldn't joke about that because he suffered through that, but I mean that was a pretty horrific experience, right? So I mean he was definitely violated in a horrific way. So maybe other aspects of it, maybe. And here's the other thing too, like with Lynn Buchanan, he had no idea that any of this stuff had happened to him until he started remote viewing, and then it came back, and then he had went to a hypnotherapist and found out about this stuff. So for all we know, many of us could have had these experiences and we just have no idea, um, and just don't remember. Yeah, I'll definitely look him up. I think it would be. Yeah. So it looks like you're about to say I wouldn't. I mean, I just want to know. Like, I'm tired of this uncertainty, and I'm not. Um, I'm not. I'm not highly confident of our leaders. Like, they're just not. They're not very smart. Like, the way that they're elected. I mean, they're elected. They're just who's the most popular, but they're not. Like, most of them are really dumb, and it's actually pretty horrifying that they're. I mean, we keep turning off coal-fired power plants and replacing them with solar and wind, which are intermittent power sources, right? So like we're not we should be moving to more of a green future, but we're not doing it in an intelligent way. Like, how are we building nuclear power plants? No, we're not. As far as I know, they're just like people aren't doing it. But that's what you have to replace coal power plants with because it's a baseload energy source. But we're not doing that. So I'm worried we're just going to manufacture a crisis in 10 years where we just run out of power and people starve because we're being idiots about this stuff. Um, let's see. Yeah, I'm not. I was raised a Catholic, but I am not super religious because I don't, I'm an evidence based guy. So, um, yeah, yeah, they're not. And at this point, they're just solving for themselves, right? Like, if you want to become a millionaire, just run for Congress because then you can trade on material non-public information based on meetings you have with major corporations, and you can make millions of dollars legally by doing something that's illegal for the rest of us. So yeah, I'm not. And the thing is, things are so complex. I feel like the future is not kind of collectively trusting in government and letting them move forward. I think it's more kind of a CE5 based, just establishing contact with, or just evolving on your own and becoming enlightened on your own and figuring it out on your own, because the government's not going to save us. Um, in fact, they're probably more likely to prey on us than anything else. So, I'm sorry to say that, but I just don't see a lot of. Yeah, I would go with 401k, my friend. Um, sure, it could be worthless, but if that becomes worthless, gold ain't going to save you, because you can't, unless you have a veritable arsenal, you won't be able to defend yourself. So, you know, kind of, if hope is a method, buy a 401k, and if all else fails, just make sure that you're armed. That's about all you can do. And then obviously have enough food to protect you, safe for your family and things like that. But um, yeah. But again, like, you're gonna have to move it, and if you don't have fuel, I mean, unless do you have a horse, and then if you have a horse, you got to feed it, and there goes your food. So yeah, in an environment where your 401k collapses, there's not going to be fuel. I mean, we're gonna have worse problems. I don't know. Farming's hard work like that. I don't know if I don't. Yeah, I don't know if I want that life. That is dawn to dusk. You are working hard. The Amish, no joke. Like, those folks work their butts off. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap it up in about 2 minutes. So, any last questions? Uh, I can cook, but my kitchen is so messy that I can't. I lose my temper if I go in there. So my wife cooks. I, I can't. And then we also order out food a lot. So thank you, Leon. Very, very thoughtful questions, and thank you for the feedback. Try to get better every day, and see what we can do to make things better. And it was good to get to know all of you guys on this. Over all you folks on these live streams, and that's the intent of these live streams, right? It's just to get to know folks a lot better. Even if Kev the Rev's constantly busting my balls, that's all right. He's got a license to do that. He's allowed. He's allowed to do that. Well, yeah, sort of. But it's not her office. I think she does her own thing. Um, and she also takes care of she does great work with the kids and all that stuff. I'm the in theory, I'm supposed to be bringing in all the money and all that stuff, and then um, she makes sure that the kids get educated and to school and all that good stuff. So anyway, All right. I think with that, I'm going to go into, well, I can't say we'll be right back, but I appreciate everybody being on the call, and I will see you soon, my friends. Let me. That looks like one more chat. Looks like. Hold on. How do I do that? B8. How do I do that? He probably left. At least a tantalizing question. High vibration crystals. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. And thank you, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you all. Oh, just I'm about to just when I'm about to get out, they pull me back in. All right, phenocite, natural light, or a similar item, or brookite. Okay, I will try. What I mean, anything I should expect, or is it different for different people? Like if I do this, am I going to be like possessed by demons or something? Like I'm just kidding, but not kidding. Because remember, I was raised Catholic, so I'm not afraid of anything except that. So I think there was some series on Amazon that said something like they were looking at a house that was possessed by something, and it said that that demons can affect your electronic media. So be careful if you watch this. So I was just like, nope, I'm not watching it. Done. Not watching it. So what are the kind of the from the low to the high extreme reactions? What can you get? Oh, it can make you somewhat dizzy. Huh. Interesting. All right, that's something I need to that's some homework I need to do. And where can I find this stuff? B8? Like, is there a place I can just go and pick it up, or do I have to be in a specific part of the country? Okay. And then how do you know it's really what the seller claims it is? And they're not just selling me like uranium or yellow cake or something. I mean, they wouldn't, but all right, I give it a minute or so, and then I think I'm going to go. Okay. All right, that's helpful. All right, everyone. With that, I am going to head out. Thank you very much, everyone. It was a pleasure to see you all, and I will see you next month. Bye-bye.